Novosibirsk, or New Siberia, a Russian land in the middle of nowhere, yet full of wonders. For instance, the last place you'd look for a large metropolis is probably Siberia. Curious to find out more? Good, you've come to the right place. Hello and welcome to 7 Facts. Novosibirsk is a Siberian province of Russia, bigger than Greece and Denmark combined, and with a relatively large population of 2.7 million, which for Siberia is quite a lot. It's one of, if not the most industrially developed region in the whole of Siberia, and yet it's also a place where huge regions are left pristine and untouched. A great example is the Vasyugan swamp, one of the largest swamps in the world, found in the northern part of the oblast. Plus, there are thousands of lakes, rivers, forests and steppes. Of course, the main reason why Novosibirsk is not a crowded region is its tough climate that's not made for everyone. Still, this oblast is considered by many to be the capital region of Siberia, and for good reasons. But before we go into details, let's take a good look at the history. Before Novosibirsk became Russian, it used to be a land of the Tatars. The Siberian Khanate ruled most of these lands up until the 16th century, while in the east and south, a tribal association of warlike nomads, the Teleuts, were in charge. Precisely because of these warring nations, despite having a relatively milder climate, Novosibirsk wasn't settled by Russians until 1 century after the fall of Siberia, around the mid-1600s. After this point, military fortifications and civilian settlements popped up all over Novosibirsk. In 1893, the construction of the Trans-Siberian Railway led to the foundation of Alexandrovsky, later Novonikolaevsky, and finally renamed Novosibirsk. Thanks to its location as a transport hub between Siberia and Europe, the navigability of the Ob River, and the building of the Trans-Siberian Railway, Novosibirsk became an important trade and economic center, a status it maintains to this day. The city of Novosibirsk is the capital of the oblast, and it's also Russia's third largest city, housing over 1.6 million people. At the same time, it's Siberia's and Asian Russia's biggest city. It was founded on the future site of the Trans-Siberian, so it immediately became the regional transport hub. It was under Stalin that Novosibirsk truly became a major urban center. During those years, massive industrial facilities were built here, earning the city the nickname Chicago of Siberia. Today, even though it can get bloody cold in the winter, Novosibirsk remains a populous cosmopolitan city full of factories, corporations, but also leisure, cultural and sports centers. I know that most people wouldn't expect to find such a large urban center in the middle of basically nowhere, but Novosibirsk is without a doubt a prosperous and busy city on par with its European and Asian counterparts. So, Novosibirsk is known for its bitterly cold temperatures, but just how cold can it get? For starters, on average Novosibirsk is completely frost-free for only about 3 months per year. Summer temperatures hover around 20 degrees Celsius, while in the winter it's also 20 degrees, but with a minus. That stat can however be misleading because Novosibirsk is mostly a flatland, which allows both cold and heat waves to spread freely. So occasionally, you might get well over 30 degrees in the summer or below -40 in the winter. And those are quite nice temperatures for this region. Novosibirsk is known as a heat island, with 1 to 5 degrees higher temps than anywhere else in Siberia. Train spotters from across the world will love Novosibirsk. The city is hosting the Museum for Railway Technology, packed with all sorts of locomotives and carriages. Over 40 Russian, Soviet, American, Czechoslovak and Hungarian locomotives and dozens of carriages from different eras can be found in this open-air museum. Gaz, Moskvich and Zaz cars, trucks and tractors are also on display. Even if you're not a train enthusiast, this museum can be a pretty cool place to visit. And if you are, well, welcome to your heaven. Perhaps you're not a lover of transport technology, but rather a nature lover. No worries, Novosibirsk got you covered. One of the biggest zoos in Russia can be found in this city, and it has an impressively large collection of animals. Currently, there are around 11,000 individual animals from over 770 species living on over 60 hectares of land. The zoo has been around since 1947 and it's a main attraction of the city. Being such a large zoo, it of course participates in almost 70 international programs for the conservation of rare and endangered species. 1.5 million people visit the Novosibirsk Zoo every year, which is a really impressive number for a zoo. During World War II, Novosibirsk had a major contribution to the Eastern Front. Nearly 800,000 men were conscripted into the army, which was a huge proportion of the oblast's total population. But that's not all that Novosibirsk gave to fight against Germany. Over 100,000 people were mobilized to work in the defense industry. 115 hospitals were created with over 60,000 beds. Museum collections from across European Russia were sent here for safekeeping. Many dozens of defense industries, research institutes, and civilian factories were either created or moved here from Europe. So, despite having sent hundreds of thousands of men to the war, the population of Novosibirsk actually grew. Despite the fact that not a single bomb fell on the territory of Novosibirsk, the pre-war city disappeared forever. Instead of the planned residential areas and parks, industrial zones of evacuated factories appeared. Please leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content. Leave your comments downstairs and don't forget there's a Patreon page where you can support this channel. I hope to see you next time. Bye.